It's visible.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Let's recite the dua first. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma, Rabbi zidni ilma, Rabbi zidni ilma. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So far, what we have discussed in the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, we have discussed his conversation with his father. We have discussed his conversation with the pirate king that we say was Namrud. And then during the last presentation, we have discussed and we have seen the comparison between what the biblical version of Ibrahim alayhi salam story is and what are the Islamic perspectives on that story. And we established quite a few facts there. And then the topics of today's meeting is the sacrifice of Ismail alayhi salam, and then how Ibrahim alayhi salam left Hajar and Ismail in the barren valley of Makkah, and the mention of the dream that Ibrahim alayhi salam kept on seeing, and how Ismail alayhi salam responded, and what are the divine wisdom hidden for us by the mention of that part of Ibrahim alayhi salam's life. So we will dive deeper into that today, and then if we have enough time, we will go into the significance of Kaaba, and then how Kaaba was built, and how Allah has mentioned how Allah has mentioned His house and its significance in Quran. So these are the topics that we are going to cover today, inshallah. So first thing first, we are at the part where Ibrahim alayhi salam has migrated from Iraq, and then now he is residing in Palestine. And from Palestine, Hazrat Ibrahim left Ismail alayhi salam and Hajar in Hijaz on the commandment of Allah. So, as we mentioned last time, that there are two different kinds of hadith. A few hadiths are marfu and the other are mawquf. Marfu hadiths are those which are referred by Rasulullah sallallahu, which are told by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and mawquf hadith are those who are narrated by different Sahaba. So once we start understanding the part of the story where Ibrahim alayhi salam is taking Hajar alayhi salam and the small baby Ismail alayhi salam and leaving them in a barren valley on the commandment of Allah, we have found a mawquf hadith by Imam al-Bukhari, narrated from Ibn Abbas, and that Ibn Abbas narrated that the first woman to use griddle was the mother of Ismail, so that she might hide her tracks from Sarah. But we established in the last conversation, in the last meeting, that the reason that Ibrahim alayhi salam left Hajar and Ismail alayhi salam is by the commandment of Allah, and not by any chance, any jealousy from Sarah alayhi salam. Ibrahim brought her and her son Ismail while she was suckling him to a place near the Kaaba under a tree on a spot of Zamzam, at the highest place in the mosque. So that was a valley, and there were few places which seems like a hill. So the place where the place where House of Allah will be established, there is a very common narrative among the scholars that time when Ibrahim alayhi salam left Hajar and Ismail alayhi salam, the house of Allah was not built, the Kaaba was not built there yet. But Ibrahim alayhi salam left them around that area. During those days, there was nobody in Makkah, nor there was any water. So he made them sit over there and placed near them a leather bag containing some dates and a small water skin containing some water, and set out homewards. Ismail's mother followed him, saying, "O Ibrahim, where are you going, leaving us in this valley where there is no person whose company we may enjoy? Nor is there anything." She repeated that to him several times, but he did not look back at her. Then she asked him, "Has Allah ordered you to do so?" Ibrahim alayhi salam replied, "Yes." And then she said, then he will not neglect us. And returned. While Ibrahim alayhi salam proceeded onwards, and on reaching the Tanya, this is a place where they were unable to see Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam faced Kaaba and raised both of his hands, invoked Allah, saying the following prayers, which is meant. This prayer is mentioned in Surah Ibrahim. Ibrahim alayhi salam prayed, O Lord, I have established some of my offsprings in an uncultivated valley close to your sacred house, Lord, so that they may keep up the prayer. So this is the reason that Ibrahim alayhi salam left them here, so that they may establish the prayer. And then Ibrahim alayhi salam is asking Allah, make people's heart turn towards them and provide them with the produce so that they may be thankful. So Hazrat Hajar and Ismail alayhi salam kept on using the water. So basically Hajar alayhi salam kept on using the water and dates, and once she ran out of that water, she started running towards the nearest hill, Safa and Marwa were the nearest hill. She ran between Safa and Marwa 7 times, and then this is a hadith where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, this is the source of the tradition of people walking between the Safa and Marwa. When she reached the Marwa for the last time, she heard a voice, and she told herself to be quiet and listen attentively. She heard the voice again and said, Oh, whoever you may be, you have made me hear your voice. Have you got something to help me? And behold, she saw an angel at the place of Zamzam, digging the earth with his heel or his wing, until water flowed from that place. She started to make something like a basin around it, using her hand in this way, and started filling her water skin with water with her hands. Started filling her water skin with water with her hands, and the water was flowing out after she had scooped some of it. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam added, May Allah have mercy on Ismail's mother. Had she let Zamzam flow without trying to control it, or had she not scooped from the water to fill her water skin, Zamzam would have been a stream flowing on the surface of earth. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Then she drank water and suckled her child. The angel said to her, Don't be afraid of being neglected, for this is the house of Allah, which will be built by this boy and his father, and Allah never neglects his people. So Ibrahim alayhi salam went for a very long time. There are 2 narrations that had Ibrahim alayhi salam left them and then came back quite after some time with the commandment of sacrifice of Ismail alayhi salam and building of Kaaba. But there are different narrations to it. So for example, then Ibrahim alayhi salam went. So, for example, one narration is that Ibrahim alayhi salam went for quite a long time, as long as Allah willed, and came back to them afterwards. He saw Ismail alayhi salam under a tree near Zamzam sharpening his arrows. When he saw Ibrahim alayhi salam, he rose up to welcome him, and they greeted each other as father does with his son, and as son does with his father. Ibrahim alayhi salam said, O Ismail, Allah has given me an order. Ismail said, Do what your Lord has ordered you to do. Ismail asked, Will you help me? Ismail said, I will help you. Ibrahim alayhi salam said, Allah has ordered me to build a house, pointing to the hillock higher than the land surrounding it. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So there are 2 different opinions. One of the opinion is Ibrahim alayhi salam was commanded to build the house on a higher place in the valley, and he was given the direction on where to build the house. And then, along with building the house, Ibrahim alayhi salam kept on seeing a dream of sacrifice of his son. So both of the things have happened within a single trip of Ibrahim alayhi salam to Makkah. And once they have built the Kaaba, and then Ibrahim alayhi salam called the people towards Hajj, and then after that he sacrificed Ismail alayhi salam, which was then replaced by a ram. So this is one of the very popular narration among the popular belief among the scholars about the sequence of the events. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam added, then they raised the foundations of the house, the Kaaba. Ismail brought the stones and Ibrahim was building. When the walls became high, Ismail brought his stones and placed it for Ibrahim, who stood on it and carried on building. While Ismail was handing him the stones, both of them were saying, O our Lord, accept this service from us. You are all hearing, the all knowing. Then both of them went on building and going round the Kaaba, saying, O our Lord, accept this from us. You are all hearing, you are all knowing. So this is an authentic hadith narrated to us by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam while he was telling about the story of Ismail, Ibrahim, and Hajar alayhi salam. So we will talk about this building of Kaaba in quite a lot of detail because there are so many wisdoms and there's so much learned from the building of Kaaba and the significance of Kaaba. Today we will focus more on the sacrifice side. So regarding the sacrifice side and regarding how often Ibrahim alayhi salam used to see Ismail and Hajar alayhi salam, there is another mawquf hadith narrated by Ali ibn Abi Talib. He said, he narrated that Ibrahim would visit Hajar each month on the Buraq. He would come during the day, then return later to his home in Sham. And then again, they have narrated that perhaps the building of the Kaaba and the weekend of the sacrifice both occurred in that same visit after being away for so many years, maybe. They built the house, Ibrahim alayhi salam announced the Hajj. He saw the vision of the sacrifice, which gave us Eid al-Adha and the pilgrimage of Hajj. Perhaps this view is considered the closest to being the correct one. So now we will move towards we'll move towards Surah As-Safat. This is the only place where the the incident of sacrifice of Ismail alayhi salam is mentioned. There are other places where different events have been reported multiple times, but Surah Safat, this is the only place where the sacrifice of Ismail alayhi salam has been mentioned. So we are at a point when Ibrahim alayhi salam has left his father. For the sake of Allah, he has left his father, his people, his friends, his village, and now he's leaving that particular area. So he is asking, وَقَالَ إِنِّي ذَاهِبٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّي سَيَهْدِينِ. Allah is going to guide me. رَبِّ هَبْ لِي مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ فَبَشَّرْنَاهُ بِغُلَامٍ حَلِيمٍ ولما بلغوا معه السعي قال يا بني إني أرى في المنام إني أذبحك فانظر ماذا ترى قال يا أبت أفعل ما تؤمر ستجدني إن شاء الله من الصابرين فلما أسلم وتله للجبين وناديناه أن يا إبراهيم قد صدقت رؤيا إن كذلك نجزي المحسنين إن هذا لهو البلاء المبين وفديناه بذبح عظيم وتركنا عليه في الآخرين سلام على إبراهيم كذلك نجزي المحسنين إنه من عبادنا المؤمنين وبشرناه بإسحاق نبيا من الصالحين. So Allah Ta'ala is mentioning that Ibrahim alayhi salam left his people, and then while he was leaving and migrating towards Sham, he had this feeling and he had this desire of having a son who was among the righteous people. So Allah is mentioning that Allah gave him the good news of a forbearing son. And then once that son, when he reached with him the age of striving or working along with him, he said, "Oh, my son, indeed I have seen in a dream that I am sacrificing you. So see what you think." He said, "Oh, my father, do as you are commanded. You will find me, if God wills, among the patient." So when they both submitted, and he laid upon his forehead, we called to him, "O Ibrahim, you have fulfilled the vision. Indeed, we thus reward the doer of the good. Indeed, this was indeed a very clear trial. And we ransomed him with a great sacrifice, and we left for him among later generation. Peace be upon Ibrahim. Thus do we reward the doer of the good. Indeed, he was of our believing servants. And we gave him good tidings of Ishaq, a prophet among the righteous, and we blessed him and Ishaq. And among their descendants are doers of good and wrongdoers to themselves clearly. So now we will take the whole ayah and then break that ayah into smaller fragments, and we will try to extract the wisdom out of those ayah so that we can apply that wisdom in our lives. Sister Kazima?
Yes. Mehreen, before we move on, if someone has any question or anyone want to share something.
Yes, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Assalam.
assalam.
So, listening to the whole account, I don't think is there any importance on the timeline? So, because there's different views coming across when what happened and when, but the main thing is there are two main things. First is the leaving of Hajra and Ismail in a secluded place. There wasn't much conversation. There wasn't a big hoo-ha, there wasn't arguments going on. It was just understood that if something has been done and it's the command of Allah, so all the parties, Hajra al-Islam and Ibrahim al-Islam, Ismail, they just accepted that if something is taking place, they didn't seek for explanation, they didn't seek whys, and it was command of Allah and accepted and followed. So I think the lesson is in different events rather than look upon views when this happened, which was before, which was after, locations, time, because we've got Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's divine intervention where he was traveling from Iraq to Mecca within such a short time. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to, it has to be, the whole thing has to be accepted that this is Allah, and in his power he can do anything at any time. But the lesson to draw from this is obedience. In obedience and patience and sabr, and just act on what has been commanded. And that's the lesson for us as an ummah. That's how I see it.
This is a very brilliant point that, yeah, of course, the major lesson that we can draw from the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam is submission. Submission to the commandments of Allah, no matter how hard was it. But I believe there is an importance of understanding the timeline as well. Is there anyone else from the audience who can shed light on the importance of timeline? Understanding the timeline, or at least trying to understand the timeline of Ibrahim alayhi salam.
If no one, then may I add that, to help the building of the Kaaba, the Ismail Islam must have been of a certain age where he's strong and he's tall, so without knowing the age of the child on both events, the sacrifice and the building of the Kaaba, it almost seems that the sacrifice is a little bit when he was younger, and it happened before the building of the Kaaba. So for me,
Yeah.
that is the timeline.
For me, understanding the timeline and the cultures around gives the flavor and how hard would that be. So, for example, the part of the ayah in front of us, فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعَهُ السَّعْيَ. So imagine a person who is 84 years old. So this is in the biblical narration that Ibrahim alayhi salam was around 85 or 84 when Ismail alayhi salam. So is it right, Khazima, that the good news of the birth of Ismail alayhi salam, what was the age of Ibrahim alayhi salam?
Yeah, I think it was 75.
75, and then around 90, Ibrahim alayhi salam was around 13 or 14. He was enough big to like work hard along with Ibrahim alayhi salam. So such an old man, and now he has a young boy who is striving around with him. And that boy, Allah has asked Ibrahim alayhi salam to sacrifice that boy in that particular age. So this gives another flavor, or this gives another idea on how hard that would have been. Um, if we can, so for example, if we are old and then we have to sacrifice our younger children, the children who are earning for us, or who we are dependent on for our old age, once we have the news like that Allah has taken them back, how hard is it for us, and how annoyed we become that why Allah has taken that child away from me. So understanding the age of Ibrahim alayhi salam, I think that gives another level of understanding and another level of empathy with Ibrahim alayhi salam. Jazakallah khair, Sister Rubina. You have added a very good point here. Jazakallah khair. Anyone else want to share anything?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Can I ask a question? Like, it might sound a bit stupid, because we are used to our timeline, and sometimes I feel when we are reading the Quran, everything is not according to the timeline. So it is like, in a way it is done deliberately, so that we are also not too much used to putting things in order, and try to understand that for Allah Ta'ala, uh, uh, time time also works in a different way. And if we place things in sequence and try to work out, because I don't know, it might sound really stupid, but I was just thinking, like, the prophets used to travel, and if they are not in this world, like Idris alayhi salam, and if they come back, if they are traveling in the heavens, and if they come back, and if the time has passed on the earth, then their age might be more, while they might not be that old. Like, I don't know, is it too overthinking or something? But
You are saying that the prophets who are taken to some other dimension at the moment. So for
they,
example,
like Idris alayhi salam used to travel in other dimensions, and then when they come back, their age is according to the time that has passed on the earth, while the time has not passed on them, because they are not in a dimension where there is time, maybe. So in that sense, like, I don't know even what I'm saying. I'm sorry if I'm
I
confusing
understand
you.
that the prophets who are in another dimension at the moment will, when they will be back, will they be of the same age they travel to, or they will be aged quite a lot? I
Like, for
do not know
example,
the
if
answer of
they
this
say,
question.
yeah,
If anyone
so
else know
like,
the answer, please go ahead.
like when Isa alayhi salam, if we take his second coming, so all the time that has passed, we will count according to that time. Like, he has come after this many years, and so we will like subtract all these 1400 years and 600 years plus from his age, or
Brother
like.
Naufal, yeah, Brother Naufal has raised his hand. He might have the answer.
Okay.
Brother Naufal?
I think I was just going to cut short the discussion. I think the concept of time, I think when it comes to time travel, you could read up the child's paradox, the twins paradox, because that gives you an understanding of how different the time would be if somebody were to come back. So there's Einstein's twins paradox,
Is that a
which
book?
gives you the mathematical equation of how to work it out.
Yes, but apart from this twin paradox, we have the hadiths which explain this whole events. But I think that's a very big
That's an entirely different topic.
Yes, it's
Maybe Sister Zara, if you can send this question in the chat in the WhatsApp group, somebody might have the answer and they might share it. Let's come back to Ibrahim alayhi salam for
Yes.
the session. Is that all right?
Yes. Just I want to add one point. It's just the point that I has built up till now, that regarding the timeline, if we do not even though we do not even know the exact timeline, but it doesn't mean that we don't need to study about it. I think we should read it just to connect with the cultures, or with the governance system, with the history. Because if we think it on an other level, then how we can connect these stories, for example, the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, with that era. if we don't know the time, if we are not trying to, establish the concept of timeline. So I think we should read about it as well. So let's come back to the topic.
Yeah, Brother Ali Khan has raised his hand. Let's take his point and then we can proceed. Brother Ali Khan.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Thank you for giving the opportunity. So one of the things I could think of that timeline can really help us in is to put things in perspective and establish the credibility of the prophets where it lies. For example, in the time we live in, we have three Abrahamic religions, which are basically one religion, Islam. But then Muhammad, peace be upon him, gets attacked by other two religions by the credibility of Ishmael alayhi salam. So if we do not put timeline in front of us, we can't see how their claims on Muhammad are false, because Ishmael was born way before Isaac. And according to other Abrahamic religions, they believe Isaac was the one who was sacrificed on the altar. And secondly, the more we get our archaeological finds in this day and age, having a right sense of timeline can help us connect the dots with who was the ruling elites of that time and what civilizations were on the face of the earth, and get a nice understanding of the historical events that happened, and see the prophets in their real, as much as possible, in their real glory. That's what I could think of.
Yep, brilliant point, excellent. Jazakallah khair for sharing. Sister Kazima?
Yes. Okay,
Let's move
so
forward.
we have chosen this part of Surah Safat because the first part we have already discussed, that how Ibrahim alayhi salam has dialogue with his father, with his people, and we also have a session on the du'as of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So going to the next part of the Surah Safat, فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعَهُ السَّعْيَ, meaning that when Ismail alayhi salam was in a growing age, and when he reached the age of the maturity and reached the age at which he was able to stride. In that age, Ismail alayhi salam has both the physical and mental maturity. I mean, some of the narrations has been told that he was 13. That's just the start of the teenage. And at the time, even he can, reject what his father was saying to him. So it's the hikmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he has chosen this age for such a big event. And so a time when he alayhi salam is capable of making his own decisions, he can have his goals, his own pursuing goals, and he was fully able to contribute to that society. So Ibrahim alayhi salam said to his son,
I'm trying to move the slide. Yeah.
قال يا بني إني أرى في المنام أني أذبحك. Indeed, I have seen in a dream that I am slaughtering you. So Ibrahim alayhi salam was a kind father. He has seen a dream and he knows that he is a prophet, and his dream necessitates the slaughter of his most beloved son. But he is making a consultation with his son. The consultation is so clear evidence that Ibrahim alayhi salam has a sound wisdom. I mean, when he saw the dream, he is ready to slaughter his most beloved son. But what he is doing, he also wants the same kind of submission from his son. So that's why he's taking the point of view his son, that what he is thinking at this time. I mean, it's a very emotional moment. Just think that how Ibrahim alayhi salam was feeling at that time. He was thinking, and the first day has passed, and then Ibrahim alayhi salam has again the same dream, the same dream. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already told him that the son that Allah is going to grant him will be a forbearing son. And this is the time when this forbearance will be tested. So, قال يا أبتي افعل ما تؤمر ستجدني إن شاء الله من الصابرين. So this verse demonstrates Ismail's maturity, patience, and submission to God's will. The point that if'alu ma tu'maru, do as you are commanded. It's a very powerful example of the forbearance and trust in the God's plan. So this indicates a state of the mental and emotional clarity. There's a peace and resilience that the traits that the Ibrahim that has been cultivated in Ismail alayhi salam, he has a deep faith and trust in God. This spaciousness or inner peace is a key factor in Ismail's alayhi salam response. That if from here, there is also a point that we have here the clear that he has developed these traits from his father. The God has granted him, but he has developed these traits from his father. He was not overwhelmed by the fear, the panic, or confusion. Instead, he had the inner capacity to fully accept the situation and respond the most noble and obedient answer. Do as you are commanded, and you will find me if the God wills among the patient. I mean, he, apart from that, he is, said, okay, I'm ready. He's also saying that, inshallah, minas sabirin. He's also, trusting in the God that, oh my God, I mean, keep me among those who are the sabirin. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has shown to Ibrahim alayhi salam that the son is a forbearance. He is forbearing. This is a very emotional moment, that what the father is asking and how the son is responded. And they both are very clear about their submissions and obedience. So
this point, inshallah min as-sabirin, that Ismail alayhi salam was aware of the fact that I am patient at the moment when my father is consulting me. I am patient at the moment. And then he has mentioned that inshallah he would be among the patient while the father is sacrificing him on the altar. So he is aware that my emotions can change at that particular time, and then he is asking Allah to keep him patient even up until that particular moment. So this is so amazing. Imagine a father who is consulting his teenager boy. So in the biblical version, it's stated that Ibrahim alayhi salam did not consulted anything with Ismail alayhi salam. He asked Ismail alayhi salam to take the knife, sharpen it, take some oil, and they are going somewhere to sacrifice a ram. And then Ismail alayhi salam said that we have forgotten to take the ram. So in the biblical version, Ibrahim alayhi salam's authority has been mentioned instead of this Islamic version, where Ibrahim alayhi salam is taking the opinion of his teenage boy that, look, I have seen a dream. What do you think about it? And the present tense in this dream, it shows that Ibrahim alayhi salam did not saw the dream only once. He kept on seeing the dream, and then he mentioned that dream to his teenage boy. So I think that there are so many, like there is some parenting tips here, and then um, there are some tips on how to give a bad news to somebody. If somebody has died or something very bad has happened, I think it's a good indication that we should prepare the other person mentally first and then give that particular news. This will help the other person take that news and then take the consultation of the other person. What other divine wisdoms can we take from these particular part of this ayah? If anybody want to share their opinion.
If I may.
Yes, please.
So it makes you think exactly on the parenting of Ibrahim Islam towards his son. I mean, that age, it took such a long time for Ibrahim Islam to realize his God, his Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who that is. It took him a lifetime to come to an understanding. And here, this is a young teenager, and he's already saying, inshallah, and if it's a command from Allah. So his understanding of Allah, he's traveled that journey so quickly, and in this conversation he's already showing his own faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and just and accepting it as a obedient son and submitting to the will. So we can gauge from his own belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ismail Islam. I mean, which children or parent and child develop this sort of understanding? which that's a lesson in itself. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, mashallah, very good point. Anyone else want to share anything? Brother Samir?
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. I was about to actually raise a hand. In my opinion, the way I look at it, there's the two things. Is like, first of all, Ishmael actually showed himself as a reflection of Ibrahim, right? And the character of the Ibrahim is actually clearly, you can see through Ishmael. He knows his dad is not a normal person, and he never lied, or he not making up anything. So second thing is the mashwara, right? Abraham did not care what's the age of the Ishmael, and he actually openly gone to him and explained to him what he saw in the dream, and even taken his own opinion. What should we do? And he said, obviously, Dad, you the one is a prophet of the Lord, right? And if it's the order of the Lord, I'm happy to go ahead with you. So it also shows the parenting of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So one more thing is very important here, which I think. The kids do what they see parents doing. They don't do what parents tell them to do. And that's what I think is the main one for me. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Love it. Beautiful point. Anyone else? Brother Shahid? Anyone? Aisha?
Sister Uzma is also there.
Okay. Do raise your hand if you want to say something.
Okay.
Remember, Razima, that Ibrahim alayhi salam was called as Al-Khalil, friend of Allah.
Yes, I'm going to explain it as well. That when we will derive the lesson from the whole event, that inshallah will shed light that the Ibrahim alayhi salam was Al Khalil. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now has, his trial with his son. Because when he has a son, of course, he has some kind of love in his heart for the son as well. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has tested Ibrahim alayhi salam through this love. That is he ready to sacrifice that love for me?
So if we think about ourselves, are we ready to sacrifice our most beloved things to prove that our love for Allah is the greatest than the love of that particular person or thing? So Ibrahim alayhi salam actually manifested that his love for Allah is greater than his teenage boy at the age of like 100,
Yeah.
around 100. If Ibrahim, like, he would be this old, around this age.
But I think just when I was reading, I was thinking that, he has just left his father, he has left his land, he has left everything. And when he was migrating, only 3 people was with him. Yeah, his wife, and the Lut alayhi salam and his brother. And when he came to this land, and he has now a son, and now again he has a new stage of his life, a new love. And at this time, when he started to think that now his son is in the age of 13, just imagine that what he was thinking. He has built the holy Kaaba, he has just settled the whole family. And just think on the side of Ismail alayhi salam, he didn't say to his father that when my mother and I was small, and you have left us in this barren land, and now you are asking me that the God has commanded you to slaughter me. No, he just, the command came, and it's a mind matching. The Ibrahim alayhi salam told the son, and at the very next step, the son told that, if al ma tu'maru. I mean, Ibrahim alayhi salam was feeling an emotional burden. That's why when he saw the dream, he didn't do, the slaughter on the very first, dream. He was thinking that how I can have a consultation with my son. How I have to tell about my dream to my son. So he was thinking and thinking, and then once he has established the whole idea, because we in the previous discussions we have discussed that Ibrahim alayhi salam has a rushd. Every time whenever he came with that, whenever he has dialogue with his father, with his nation, with the king, with anyone, he is showing a very, we can say, yes, it is the divine wisdom that he was showing, but he has established it. He has established this wisdom. Allah has granted him the rushd, but Ibrahim alayhi salam has owned that rushd, you know. And every time, whenever he has a dialogue, again in this whole conversation, when he has the consultation with his son now, both the father and the son, they both are just ready to do whatever the God has commanded to them. So it's a very, you know, emotional story. In the whole, event of the Ibrahim alayhi salam, we have discussed the different stages. There is a stage when we see that, yes, this is the lesson of, you know, kind of the critical thinking, we can say, that yes, we should think like this, we should talk like this. And here is the, you know, test about the emotions, that how we have to, set our emotions. And in the next part, we will see that how they are presenting. I mean, when Ibrahim alayhi salam is going to slaughter the son at that time, how, you know, they have set their positions physically so that they, you know, they will fulfill the command of the God fully.
Yep, Jazakallah khair, Sister Kazima. Brother Nofal?
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to say, I think there's also a human side to this. So a long time before this event, Ibrahim alayhi salam was also up against his own father, where his father asked him to worship the idols. But Ibrahim alayhi salam used rationalism and logic to defend his right position. So he himself had been in a position where he had not an argument, but some sort of a dialogue with his own father before this event. So I think from a human side, of course, Ibrahim alayhi salam was a prophet, but he was also a human being. The thoughts must have been going on in his mind that what I'm asking my son Ismail to do now, what if he challenges it from a rational point of view? Because the act that Ibrahim alayhi salam was asking Ismail alayhi salam for, which was, I'm going to slaughter you, my son, in the society, that would have been, I'm careful with my words, but borderline lunacy. How can you sacrifice or kill your own son? And that too coming from a prophet. So it must have gone through his mind that, you know, I'm the father and I'm asking him to do something which doesn't really make sense on the surface. And what if he challenges me, or what if he debates with me just like I did with my father, based on rationalism and logic? So I think that human side is also prevalent, which is why this is a huge test for him, for Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, that he is in basically the flip side of where he was as a son, whereas to where he is now as a father. And I think the beauty or the glory of Ismail alayhi salam is, rather than engaging in a dialogue or engaging in rationalism or thinking about, you know, the act that my father is asking me to do, and bearing in mind at that time they would have been living in a society as well in Makkah, so there would be other people around, and for them to carry out this act would have been, you know, unsocial, lunatic kind of thing to do. But rather than rationaling and questioning it, he literally just said that just do as you say. If I, you know, just do it. So I think that's the glory of Ismail alayhi salam, as well as the difficulty, the human difficulty that Ibrahim alayhi salam would have been at the time.
Brilliant comparison, brilliant. Yep, and that's what being mentioned, that Shaitan used to come to Ibrahim alayhi salam again and again and put a waswasa that, what are you doing? Are you like sacrificing your own son? Are you gonna do something so inhuman? And these kind of waswasa. And but Ismail, look at the trust of Ismail alayhi salam. He knew that Ibrahim alayhi salam was a Nabi, and the dreams of Nabi are always true. And then he actually made his father's dream come true. So yeah, brilliant
Yeah, and
comparison.
as a son, he could have just, you know, leaving aside the prophethood for now, but just as humans, he could have, Ismail alayhi salam could have just turned around and argued, look, I'm not going to follow your command, just like you didn't follow your command of your father, because that was not right to do. And this, what you're saying to me, doesn't sound right to me. So he could have done the same thing, which would have put Ibrahim alayhi salam in a very difficult position at the time, given the fact that he was a prophet. And obviously the social pressure around him. But I think that's the real beauty in the story, that rather than all of that, the one word response that comes from his son is just do as you like.
I think there is a background to this as well. There's a background to the existence of such a son as well. That Ibrahim alayhi salam has sacrificed so much for Allah, that Allah fulfilled all of his du'as. So see where Surah Safat starts. So وَقَالَ إِنِّي ذَاهِبٌ إِلَى رَبِّ سَيَهْدِينِ. رَبِّ هَبْ لِي مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ فَبَشَّرْنَاهُ بِغُلَامٍ حَلِيمٍ. So Ismail alayhi salam was the answer to his prayer. And this is like, if we have given enough sacrifice, if we have stood up for haqq, just like Ibrahim alayhi salam has done, Allah do give glad tidings, and the offsprings are different than the previous generations.
Indeed. And I think one other point to add here is, I think we were talking about timelines. Ibrahim alayhi salam would have been aware of what happened to Nuh alayhi salam before him and what his son did. One of Nuh alayhi salam's son. So that event would also have been in mind that, sons of prophets can also deny them. So it was a really difficult test, I think, from a human and emotional perspective for Ibrahim alayhi salam as well.
Yeah, I think there were a few people who were the followers of Nuh alayhi salam, but regarding Ibrahim alayhi salam, he only had 2 followers, only Sarah alayhi salam and Lut alayhi salam. And that's why he kept on asking to grant him the company among the Salihin. And then I think then Ismail and Ishaq and all of the prophets, they were an answer of that prayer. And they were an answer of the need of having Salihin among and around him.
When you're muted.
Yes, Khazina, carry on. Jazakallah khair.
Yeah, just I want to add one thing. That Ibrahim alayhi salam has made a dua to the Allah, as we have discussed in the previous session. But remember that Ibrahim alayhi salam has presented his heart to the knowledge, and his tongue to the proof, and his body to fire, and his son to sacrifice. And inshallah, in the coming session, we'll see that he has, sacrifice, not a kind of sacrifice, but he has presented his money to the guest. And then when such a kind of person makes some dua, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I think, definitely accept the dua of such person. That how he has presented, it's Arabic is like the qalbahu lil irfana, wa lisanahu lil burhana, wa badanahu lil nirana, wa waladahu lil qurbana. He has presented each and everything. He has just, yes, whatever my God has commanded, I will present that fully to the God. So please move on the next slide, Miriam. Yeah, the next one, yeah. So he has submitted to the command of the God. He submitted and he has surrendered. So when they both submitted, the term submit here refers to the complete surrender to the will of Allah. Ibrahim alayhi salam and the Ismail alayhi salam, both has surrendered themselves to the God's command without any hesitation. And the phrase here indicates a pure devotion and trust in Allah. That even though, apparently this act looks like a father is going to slaughter his son, but they have a sound trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that if Allah wants it, that there should be some kind of, better lesson for us here. So here the interpretation of the submission is that the term submit is used in various ways, but in this context, it means the complete dedication to the God's will and safety from dispute. They know that such kind of matter might be disputed, but here in the context, the kind of submission that they have is that they have the complete dedication and safety from the dispute. And it can also be understood as that the devotion to the God with sincerity and purity and from any kind of personal desires or objections. They both of them know their positions, that what we are going to do. And as yes, the Satan try to deviate them from what they are going to do, but the Satan failed, because even the Satan don't know who they are. They have the sound wisdom, they have the sound trust on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So
Jazakallah khair, Sister Uzima, brilliant points. But I was thinking about what Brother Nofer earlier said, that reaction of Ismail alayhi salam to Ibrahim alayhi salam was different than the reaction of Ibrahim to his father. Why was that? And then while I was thinking about that, Sister Rubina made a point earlier that it took quite a lot of time for Ibrahim alayhi salam to establish the oneness of Allah. He because of the society he was living in, and then he spent quite a lot of time calling people towards Tawheed. But then when we see Ismail alayhi salam, he has this oneness of Allah inside residing or firm inside his heart, like from such a small age. So I think once the father has built this faith and stood up to that faith, the children, they do not have to be like 60 years old or 70 years old to establish that faith within themselves. They have it when they are very young as well. And I think Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he stood up to his father in Ur, he was quite young as well.
Yeah, yeah, he was young. But
But
you
he
know,
was
the ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that Allah has granted rushd to Ibrahim alayhi salam before. I mean, he has that kind of rushd as well.
He had. Yes, Sister Rubina, you want to say something?
exactly the timeline, you know, Prophet Ibrahim in Islam, he went through such a lot to attain that level of relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But for Ismail al-Islam, his example was right there from birth. So he was drawing from him his faith in Allah, yaqeen in Allah, his relationship with his father, just to do whatever his father asked of him. You know, he didn't have to travel that such a long, lifelong journey, Ismail al-Islam, like Ibrahim. So at that age, his faith was so strong that he didn't question. You know, as brother said, if somebody, and there was a case in Turkey, some lunatic father did do that, you know, he thought it was a sunnah, and he did go and murder his son. You know, that was a case of lunacy. And we have to be so thankful to Allah. It's not a sunnah that, you know, every father has to do that. We just do it with a ram. Every sacrifice at a Hakika and on Eid, whether you're at Hajj or not at Hajj, we just have to, or even as a sadaqah, you know, do a sacrifice of an animal. You know, we have to be so careful that it's a unique event only for Ibrahim Islam and his son, and it didn't become, you know, something that we had to follow. Otherwise, that would have been, you know, unimaginable.
Yeah, indeed. Sister Kazima?
Yeah. So, فَلَمَّا أَسْلَمَ وَتَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينِ. It's a powerful expression of faith, being physically positioned in a way that represents full surrender, not only in the action, but you know, in the spirit, in the soul as well. So this visual of Ismail alayhi salam lying with his face to the ground underscores the deep commitment and obedience he had to God's command, even in the face of such an immense test. Here I also want to share the narration of Ibn Abbas. When Ibrahim alayhi salam is going to slaughter his son, so it is reported that Ibn Abbas said, when Ibrahim alayhi salam decided to slaughter his son, Mehin, I think I have skipped that slide, so that's why I'm, you know. So it is just reported that Ibn Abbas said, when Ibrahim alayhi salam decided to slaughter his son and turned him on the side, the son said, "Oh father, tighten me up so that I will not be disturbed, and hold your clothes together so that none of my blood spills on you, thus saddening my mother when she sees it, and sharpen your blade and be quick to cut my throat, so that the death is easier for me." So Ibrahim alayhi salam said, "What a noble servant you are, my son, when it comes to the command of the God." And then he held him to his chest, kissed him, and bid him farewell. He then passed the knife over his neck, neck, but the knife didn't cut. The one who took away the ability of burning from the fire in which the Ibrahim alayhi salam was thrown into, took away the ability of cutting from the knife that Ibrahim alayhi salam passed over the neck of his son. I mean, here is a very, you know, what we are discussing, that Ismail alayhi salam and Ibrahim alayhi salam, apart from, you know, the prophecy, they are also making some arguments that are on the human level. And again, here, what the Ismail alayhi salam is saying, he is presenting to his father that I am a human as well. So make such kind of arrangements that will be easy, make this whole event easy for you and easy for me as well. And when the Ibrahim alayhi salam put the knife on the neck, so the one who has, saved Ibrahim alayhi salam from the fire, he is the one who has saved Ismail alayhi salam from this slaughter. And of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just want, the sacrifice of the love. That he didn't want that blood or anything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just wants the real sacrifice that we have in our, in our intrinsics. So what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then said, وَنَادِينَاهُ أَنْ يَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ قَدْ صَدَّقْتَ الرُّؤْيَا إِنَّا كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala confirming that Ibrahim's obedience to the divine command was complete and accepted. I mean, Sami Allahu liman hamida. And Allah's proclamation that Ibrahim alayhi salam has fulfilled the vision serves as an emphatic recognition of Ibrahim's complete obedience. This interpretation emphasizes that the fulfillment of the vision is not only about the physical act, but also the entire process of the Ibrahim's alayhi salam submission and trust in God's will. Apart from the, obedience, both of them are also trusting in God. So it's a very, in the next I will see that it's a very, big trial. The qad here emphasized the truthful action of the Ibrahim alayhi salam. The qad is very important that Allah subhanahu, even in the next word we see that saddaqta ru'ya. Ibrahim alayhi salam has fulfilled the dream, but he has fulfilled the dream with a very, sound and sound intention, the very, pure intention. So this amplifies the glory of Ibrahim's sacrifice by framing it as the ultimate act of obedience. And yes, the ru'ya means, this is a noun, I mean, it's a vision or a dream. And this is a definite article, al is used here, signifying a specific vision. It is clear that this vision refers to the Ibrahim alayhi salam dream had in which he saw himself sacrificing his son. And yes, indeed, it was a prophetic mission, and he know that I have to fulfill my dream, and he has fulfilled his dream with a complete honesty. So, inna hadha lahul bala'ul mubin. This was truly a revealing test. It was a very open and a very, difficult test. So when Ibrahim alayhi salam, when Ibrahim alayhi salam prayed for a child, he became, attached to him, taking part of his heart. But Ibrahim alayhi salam is the Khalilullah, and this means that his heart should be entirely devoted to Allah alone. So to test the strength of this love for Allah and the submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only, Ibrahim alayhi salam has been tested with this great trial. Yes. Mary, please move to the next slide.
Brother Samir has a question. Brother Samir, do you want to ask this from the audience, or you want to share the answer, or what do you want to do?
I just want to ask the question because it just literally came into my head.
Mm-hmm. Sister
Anyone
Fatima, can you read the
answer,
question?
please?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sister
Yes.
Fatima had the presentation ready on that question, and I was like, why are we even talking about this? Because nobody will have this question.
Yeah. What's the question?
I
Yeah.
actually put the question in the chat, like
Actually,
if
put that question here.
Yeah.
if the
So, Sister Fatima,
command
yeah, sure.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
if the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was accepted by both son and a father, why Allah allowed them to reach to the place of the incident and then replace the Ishmael with the lamb? Allah could have said like, okay, I know the intention both of you inside, you both accept it by heart. So obviously there's no doubt both accepted the order and the command of the Allah. So why it allowed further down to the place where it was going to happen?
Yeah, that's very, yeah. Just imagine, let's start with the example that, okay, I have an intention to do something, but when I am going to do that thing, my emotions, the position of my heart will be different at that time. So until the Ibrahim alayhi salam has, he just put the knife on the neck of the Ismail alayhi salam. And he has fulfilled his dream because, in one of the, in some way I have also read that Ibrahim alayhi salam put some kind of, the cloth in front of his eyes. So he just, he put the knife and not just put, but he just slaughtered his son. What actually he has slaughtered? I think he has slaughtered the love. Yeah, okay, my God, I have slaughtered everything, whatever you want from this. And the place, I think, the Ibrahim alayhi salam has a dream on the day of Arafah, and because those were the days of the Hajj. So yes, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set a sunnah. That's why I think the Ibrahim alayhi salam has slaughtered the ram at that time. Allah sent that ram from the paradise, and it is in the remembrance of the sunnah of Ibrahim alayhi salam that we slaughter that ram. And
Okay, I would, Jazakallah khair, Sister Kazima.
yeah.
I would imagine, Samir, that I have saved a 10,000 pound for a very long time. And then I have intended that I will give this 10,000 pound in the way of Allah. And now I have one opportunity. And now I know it's time to donate that 10,000 pound to that particular charity or particular situation. And so I'm saying, yes, I'll donate. And then there comes the day when I have to hand that 10,000 pound over to the other person. Then imagine how many ideas from Shaitan would be coming in my head. I don't know if that charity is right or wrong. I could have used this 10,000 pounds somewhere else at a better place. I don't know what comes in the future. Maybe I'll get sick and I would need that money. I don't know if this will be accepted or not. And so many other kind of waswasa that Shaitan would bring before I actually do that thing. So to, even in Badr, the help of Allah, the angels that came from Allah to fought from the side of Muslims, they did not came up until the Muslims were fighting in the ground. So, the waswasa of shaitan, that is so strong, and then the azmaish of Allah, that is stronger as well. This is what the ayah is saying. This was a truly revealing test. What was it revealing? A revealing test in a way that it would reveal if I am submitting or not. If Ibrahim alayhi salam would have 1 million excuses at that time that I am doing something so against the nature of commandments of Allah, this could have been a misleading dream. This could have been anything. So they could have made 1 million excuses. Even Ismail alayhi salam could have made 1 million excuses. The tribe of Jurham were living along with them at that time. And Muhammad Zain al-Abidin is here. Yep. Zain, over to you.
Assalamu alaikum. I just want to add regarding this question that there are two things. One is ilm of Allah Azza wa Jal, and the other thing is ilm shahada. So what happens when the ilm of Allah becomes ilm shahada, like what is seen in this world? Until then, the reward and the azab, it doesn't happen in this world. So let's say as an example, the kuffar, they are like munafiqeen and the kuffar in the ilm of Allah. But even then, the prophets come and then do inzar and tabshir and everything, the da'wah and all the things. And when it is clearly evident upon them, like ya'rifunahu kama ya'rifuna abna'ahum, they until they just know the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam and the truth just as evident as the sun, as evident as their sons, son son and sun son. So until then, the azab of Allah doesn't come. So when this thing, the ilm of Allah becomes ilm shahada means which could be seen in this world. So until then, the rewards or the azab doesn't happen. So this is very clearly stated in the many of the verses of Quran. So this thing is also related to that. Until the ilm of Allah, that Ismail alayhi salam and Ibrahim alayhi salam both surrendered to Allah. When it became the ilm of shahada, that it became evidently clear that they were now doing the thing. So this became ilm shahada, and then the reward and the acceptance of Allah just came into they came into being, and then it's now like narrated everywhere in the Quran and everywhere in the scriptures. So this was one addition from my side.
Jazakallah
Jazakallah
khair.
khair.
Amazing.
Okay, so One more thing, I think. Do you mind if I add as well?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
sure. Yeah. So obviously, Allah knows inside, correct? Allah doesn't need to test us because He already knows inside our intention and everything. Sometimes Allah put us in a test to reveal us in front, like how strong we are in our claim and how much obviously sometimes we don't even know inside ourselves what we actually thinking or what we're doing, and then when we get to the test, then we find out like lot of the people like actually was claiming to die for the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in one of the war times they just stepped back, they didn't go there, right? So Allah, that was the test of the Allah, right? Allah doesn't need to put us in a test to know our intention. He already knows the future. He already know everything in the gabe and everything. He already seen it. So it's some time to reveal us in front of us so we can work hard more on ourselves to actually do what we claim about. Jazakallah khair.
Yes, that's very true as well. Sister Kazima, let's quickly wind up the first part of this presentation because
Okay.
we are running out of time now.
Yeah, وَفَدَيْنَاهُ بِذَبْحٍ عَظِيمٍ. And we ransomed him with a great sacrifice. The great sacrifice refers to the ram that was sent by Allah to be slaughtered in the place of Ismail alayhi salam. And the ram's designation as great could mean its size or the fact that it came from the paradise as it was a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And another interpretation of it is that the sunnah of sacrifice and continued on Eid al-Adha as a reminder for this great event that shows the meaning of the true faith, the beauty of obedience, and the greatness of submission. So this event is on the Muslims commemorate to remembrance their father Ibrahim alayhi salam, whose religion we follow, and we have inherited his lineage and his faith. So it is to understand the nature of the sound faith upon which this religion is built, and to know that the submission to Allah's will is the essence of life. That yes, we have to submit ourselves to the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Salamun ala Ibrahim wa tarakna alayhi fil akhirin innahu min ibadina al-mu'minin kadhalika najzi al-muhsinin. And indeed, he alayhi salam was one of her believing servants. The pronoun refers to Ibrahim alayhi salam, and we gave him the good tidings of Ishaq alayhi salam. I mean, after this event, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Ibrahim alayhi salam the glad tidings of the Ishaq alayhi salam, another son, and he will be the prophet. The existence of the Ishaq alayhi salam is the predestination of his prophethood. And for those who say that the one who was sacrificed was Ismail, this is also an evidence for them that Ismail alayhi salam was the Zabih. And we gave him, yeah, that's complete. Yeah, وَتَرَفْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ. Here is the legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Allah mentions that he left a blessing upon Ibrahim alayhi salam for further generations. This legacy is not just about his physical descendants, but about the continued remembrance of his sacrifice and submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salamun ala Ibrahim. Here is the divine peace that Allah sends peace upon Ibrahim alayhi salam, showing that Ibrahim alayhi salam was in a state of divine favor and protection. كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. And this is the reward for the excellence. Just as Allah rewarded Ibrahim alayhi salam for his excellence in faith, He rewards all those who act with excellence and sincerity in their faith, setting a model for their believers. إِنَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Ibrahim alayhi salam was a true believer. This final part emphasizes that Ibrahim alayhi salam is one of the true servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is the highest honor a believer can receive. Yes. Move the next one.
Jazakallahu khairan kaseera. So this is the first part of our presentation. So we are all students of Islam. We are all studying. None of us is a teacher. So if you want to correct anything or disagree or wants to improve any part, please come forward and share your thoughts. Any question or any suggestion or any discussion point, please share it. In the next presentation, we will move towards the building of Kaaba and its significance. Any thoughts, anyone?
For the next session, what's the next session is? Sorry.
So the next session would be the second part of this, the building of Kaaba and the significance of Kaaba and the
Yeah,
mention
this
of
question is
Kaaba.
actually, this thing is always confuses me. Why do Allah need to build something as his house and call it his house, where Allah is everywhere?
Yeah, it's in the second part of the today's presentation, that why Allah explaining the importance of the house of Allah. Yeah,
I'm asking every single question you already prepared.
That's a very long discussion. That's a whole presentation on its own. So inshallah,
Yeah.
let's take this point in the
it's
next
just a
presentation.
learning journey. Yeah, it's just a learning journey. Whatever we can learn,
Yeah,
inshallah, we'll
sure.
explain it. It's a very important question. Yes,
Do we get the notes to prepare beforehand?
yes,
We
you
have
can.
books. We have books and videos. So, Sister Kazima, can you share the book that we are reading these days?
Okay, I will share
Yeah,
in the
please.
Okay, I will share.
Any other things, please?
And yes, Brother Simi, we have also, inshallah, Mirin, we will have the construction of Kaaba, right, in the next session, apart
Yep,
from the importance
inshallah.
of Holy Kaaba.
Most probably, Brother Nawfal will be doing our next presentation.
Yeah, okay.
Wouldn't you, Brother Nawfal?
Inshallah. Yes, inshallah.
Yep.
I
So,
just add a small point.
sorry,
Is,
Rubina?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
yeah, the point where it was about Jibril al-Islam traveling, time travel, and it was 4 instances where he had to save Ibrahim al-Islam, and the sacrifice is that he reached to that point to protect Ibrahim Islam, and he traveled at the speed of light. So what happened, how did it happen, why it didn't go through is because with Allah's command, he sent Jibril al-Islam to avert from those things. There's 4 other places, but these are the 2 that I remember.
Yeah, so I think there is a hadith regarding that.
Yeah.
So there is a mention of this. Yes, I remember.
Mm.
So generally, the angels travel with a particular speed. They may travel from wormholes. So, but there are 4 occasions when Jibreel alayhi salam had to travel like really fast and reach to save Ibrahim. So these were the 2 incidents: saving Ibrahim alayhi salam from fire, and then moving Ismail alayhi salam. Yep. Thank you. I think let's close the session now. Thank you for joining in.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Marine. At the end, I just want to say this. If someone would like to summarize it, what are the lessons in this story of Ibrahim alayhi salam in short lines? What are the lesson for the today's Muslim? If someone would like to summarize this.
Zainul Abidin, can you do that?
I'm sorry, for now I couldn't do that because I didn't attend the lesson full.
Okay.
I just joined in middle, so
The lessons from
sorry.
she's not asking particularly from this session. She's asking that if we are able to summarize the lessons from the life of Ibrahim alayhi salam, what would those lessons be?
Oh, okay. So to summarize, there are many lessons actually, like the fulfillment of Allah's command, as Allah states. Well, if you just go through the ayahs in which Allah mentions, it's like 28 ayahs in the Quran about it, and so we just get to know by studying all of them that Ibrahim alayhi salam was tested by Allah, in which he fulfilled it in the perfect extent, if which one could do. فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ. What's that ayah? I don't exactly remember the words. So Allah Azza wa Jal stated in the Quran that Allah tested him, Ibrahim alayhi salam, and he fulfilled it in the best possible manner. So this is the one lesson. When Allah is test comes, so the person has to fulfill it in the best possible manner. Second, he just went opposite to all the customs, all the what you say, non-religious things.
Authorities.
Yeah, non-religious things and all the bad traditions and all the slavery things and all the idols, all the, even if they were in command, even if they were in the rule of power, Ibrahim alayhi salam just went against all of them. That's the second lesson. Third lesson could be the sacrifice of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam sacrificed his family, he sacrificed his life, he sacrificed his own son for Allah Azza wa Jal. So sacrifice. Fourth, the building of Kaaba and the devotion to Allah actually. So he was like devoted to Allah and he was the one who spoke for the rights of Allah, because everyone speaks of the rights of humans, rights of this, rights of that. No one speaks of rights of Allah. Ibrahim alayhi salam was the one who spoke for the rights of Allah. So these are just on the top of my mind right now, top of my head, and
I would say
there are just more many unlimited you can say the conclusions and the wisdoms in Quran about Ibrahim alayhi salam's story, but for now I'll just stop on these.
then you said that there are 28 ayahs. I think there are 28 different occasions when Ibrahim alayhi salam has been mentioned, or
28
maybe more than
places.
28 different
Yeah,
occasions.
yeah. Sorry,
28
yeah.
places.
Yeah, not the 28 ayahs. It's the 28 occasions where Ibrahim alayhi salam is mentioned.
And then I made a point. I made a statement that Ibrahim. So we were discussing that Ibrahim alayhi salam took quite some time to establish on Tawheed, while Ismail alayhi salam, he was established on Tawheed even when he was a teenager or even before that. Was this statement right or wrong?
Could you repeat what did you actually say? Made on Tawheed, what does that mean?
So, comparing Ismail alayhi salam's youth with Ibrahim alayhi salam's youth.
Yeah.
Ismail alayhi salam, his faith is so strong even when he was a teenager that he was willing to get himself
Yeah.
sacrificed.
Yeah.
While Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was in a pagan society, and then he took some time to, establish faith, or at least establish faith in front of the people. Was it wrong,
Well,
or was
well,
Ibrahim alayhi salam on rushd ever since he was born?
yeah, well, I object on that
Okay.
because the ones who say that Ibrahim alayhi salam was like searching for truth when he says that Haza Rabbi, Haza Rabbi, Haza Shams, Haza Rabbi, Haza Akbar. So I just object on this opinion, because Ibrahim alayhi salam was already given rushd when لَقَدْ آتَيْنَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ رُشْدٌ مِّن قَبْلِ. This is the verse of Quran. So Ibrahim alayhi salam was also already on rushd and hidayah. So even a single ayah in the Quran doesn't say anything against this thing for Ibrahim alayhi salam. And Ibrahim alayhi salam, in every instance in the Quran where even in any of the events which took place in his life, either it may be the event of idols, the destroying of idols, either it may be the event of that Haran, where he just uh, made a munazara with his qawm about reasoning about the stars and the moon and the kawkab. So it was all Ibrahim alayhi salam's munazara and mujadala. It was never for searching the truth. So Ibrahim alayhi salam was a Nabi. We don't know when he was given the Nabuwa because it's not mentioned anywhere. But it is mentioned that Ibrahim alayhi salam was given Rushd min qabl. So we can't state that. And we have many reasons to believe that Ibrahim alayhi salam was not searching for the truth on at that instance. As I mentioned before also, that Ibrahim alayhi salam, where he says, this when the munazara is done, after that ayah, the Allah states that tilka hujjatuna ataynahu Ibrahim. Maybe I am just mistaking in the words, But the mafhum is that this is the reasoning which we gave Ibrahim alayhi salam against his qawm. So this was from Allah Azza wa Jal. So it was never done from his nafs, his seeking the truth, because Nabi don't seek the truth, because he's already given the truth, and he's already given the belief and everything. He just needs some more itminan qalb, like he was when the Namrud waqia, the waqia of that Malik was done with about the killing, the death, the giving hayat to the death, and doing that event of inna allaha ya'ti bishamsi min al mashriqi fa'tiha min al maghrib. That event, after that Ibrahim alayhis salam just asked Rabbi arini kayfa tuhyil mauta. Then Allah Azza wa Jalla states, do you not believe? So Ibrahim alayhis salam said, no, I believe, but walakin liyatma'inna qalbi. So it's just for my itminan qalb. So the Anbiya are just always given the truth and the ultimate truth and belief in Allah, but just they want some izdiyad iman and itminan qalb. So it's never for the searching of truth or belief. It's just for their just itminan qalb and izdiyad of iman. So
From
that's my
that we
take
have
on it.
established, Jazakallah khair, from that we have established that a 13-year or 14-year Ibrahim alayhi salam and 14-year of Ismail alayhi salam both had Tawheed and faith deeply embedded in them, and both
Yeah,
were tested one of the most hardest tests of their life. Ibrahim alayhi salam stood against the whole society, even his father,
yeah,
his family,
yeah,
and here Ismail alayhi salam is sacrificing himself. So their
yeah.
faith was strong
And
ever
from
since.
that, from that, we can also extract the lesson that Ibrahim alayhis salam was always with Ismail alayhis salam, and Ismail alayhis salam was in the, you can say, mentorship of Ibrahim alayhis salam. That's why he got that much iman and that much itminan qalb and everything, like the sacrifice. He's sacrificing his life and everything he does for Allah. So, and on the contrary, we see that Ibrahim alayhis salam was away from him, but that's not actually the case which we just get from Quran. فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعَهُ السَّعْيَ, from that ayah.
Yep, Jazakallah khair. Any last words? Ikhlas and pure intentions, Salma Bilal. Yes. So
We are just continuing Ibrahim alayhis salam series, and we'll be diving deep. So we will just get to know more and more about Ibrahim alayhis salam, and then alongside we will just get to know more about the wisdoms of Ibrahim alayhis salam,
also
as mentioned
the
in the
building
Quran.
of Kaaba. When I was studying about the building of Kaaba and the way it is mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, this is so heavy and this is so, you know, seed of faith. They get embedded in the hearts once we relive the life of prophets and once we relive the time when these ayahs were revealed. So
Yeah,
I recommend all of you to please come prepared. Do as much research as you can on the building of Kaaba. Go through Surah Al-Baqarah, and inshallah we will go deeper into that in the next episode, in the next session,
yeah,
inshallah.
inshallah. Yeah,
So ending dua, Brother Zain, and then we'll wind up.
yeah. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam.